Hello, my lovely. You didn't get to where you are in your business by doing shit the way that everybody else does. And you know that what got you to where you are now is not going to get you to where you want to be. And if you are listening to this podcast, it's because you want to be the go to for what you do better than anyone else. Your brilliance is the niche. Being you, that bold, unfuckwithable presence that you've secretly been craving to set free, she is in there. And that means you will have to burn some old bridges down. And attracting your people will also repel those who are not for you. Fucking hooray. Becoming a force of nature business and brand means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding your turbo brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you have ever been told to tone it down as a woman with ADHD, it's time to tone your shit all the way the fuck back up. That is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business and visibility that is something you've been avoiding, but that you truly want. This podcast is about stepping into your upgrade, watering down anything, never change the fucking world. You were not born to be forgettable. And as one of my all-time favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved, at least not anymore. In today's episode, I am going to call bullshit on the fact that change begins at the end of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is only one of 4 zones you go through when it comes to growth. And today we're talking about this in the context of your business and how you're going to go through this cycle of 4 more than one time when you create and grow and scale your business over time, especially those of us who are here for the marathon, not the sprint. I'm going to tell you what the 4 zones are, what they look like, but in the context of us, late diagnosed ADHD women in business, what zone specifically my clients are usually stuck in when they start working with me, and how to get out of that zone so you can stop feeling things like ADHD freeze, overthinking every fucking decision, stop with all of the decision fatigue, cut down on the overwhelm, and straight up, we're going to chop the balls right off of professionalism. So from one force of nature to another, turn the volume up to an 11. And one more thing before we get rolling. Now that you're listening, you've officially joined our girl gang, the Feral Women's Club. Are you ready to be audacious with us? Of course you are. So let's get rolling. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneu, the podcast for feral ADHD women in business who refuse to play by the fucking rules. Because rules, there aren't any. We're all just making them up as we go along. Right. My name is Carrie. I'm your host. I'm the chief weirdo here at Carrie Out Loud. If you are new, I am so glad you're here and that you found the podcast. If this episode has an impact on you or helps you in any way, can you please do me a huge favor? If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave a 5-star rating and review. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi. In either place, also be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can be reminded to come back every Wednesday for a new episode. What this all does is helps women like you find me and become part of our Feral Women's Club too. Because I'm not just a business simplification and growth coach. I created this movement so that we can all grow together. And I understand your ADHD both professionally and personally. So each episode has my 25 plus years of business expertise filtered through the lens of having a Ferrari brain with bicycle brake pads, also known as ADHD. So if you're late diagnosed or self-identified with ADHD, neurodivergent of any kind, you've definitely found your people. My business philosophy is all about focusing on the upsides of our beautiful Technicolor brains and showing you how to use it as a secret weapon and your advantage in your business. And I do all of that while acknowledging that the hard parts are very real and manageable. And you can absolutely run a business with ADHD in a way that makes sense to your brain. So, if that's not your jam, I might not be your jam, and that's okay. But if you do share this point of view or this piques your curiosity, stick around. So let's get into today's topic. Now, I called bullshit about the fact that change begins at the end of your comfort zone because you started a business that is not comfortable at all. So, doing something like that, getting out of your comfort zone, that doesn't freak you out. That doesn't freak you out. You know how to not be in that zone. You've done that over and over again in your life, in your business. We are just known to be risk takers. But you may be in the zone after that or stuck in the zone after that. So, we're going to walk through all four. I'm going to give you examples so you can see which one you're currently in and really how this applies to you and in your business. And if you're in zone 2, I'm going to tell you how to get the fuck out of there faster so you can get moving and stop feeling stuck if that's where you're feeling. So at the end, I'm going to give you a handful of things that you can do to reframe or help yourself get out quicker so you can move forward. Let's go into zone 1. Zone 1 is the comfort zone. The traits that this has when you are late diagnosed is staying small, staying invisible, following neurotypical business advice because you think that's what you're supposed to do, being a real rule follower, not realizing that you can find somebody who understands your brain and gives you advice based on your brain and the way that it works. You're most likely undercharging and over delivering to avoid any conflict. You keep your ADHD hidden or play it down. Now, let me touch on that one. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't feel like you want that to be super forward facing in your business, there is nothing wrong with that. But I want you to ask why. Do you feel like somebody will judge you or have an opinion of you because of it? Just think about that. Um, s- are you sticking to what feels predictable and what feels safe? And lastly, are you avoiding anything that might trigger rejection sensitivity, like not selling in your stories, not having a funnel that does sales for you on the back end? Because what if people don't buy? Are you not talking about your offers regularly? This all has to do with not selling. And that can come down to having that sensitivity around rejection. A couple ways this shows up in your business. You've been offering the same service at the same price for 2 or 3 years, even though you're way more experienced now. You have a lot more time under your belt with what you do, but raising your prices feels risky and you're afraid people are going to say no. Another example, you post very generic content that sounds like everyone else because showing your true personality, chaotic, feral, different, unique, quirky, funny, whatever those traits are that truly make you you, the you that's on the phone with your best friend, the you maybe that's behind the scenes in your business with your clients, but you're too afraid to have that forward facing because you might think people will think you're unprofessional or too much. And I have a funny example of this. One of my clients just sent me a DM and it was this reel. I'll have to put this reel in the show notes because it made me laugh so fucking hard. She's like, "This is you." And it basically has two people dancing to some like 90s hip hop. It's like, "This is me," even though people say that, being close and being friends with your clients is unprofessional. It's just like two of them just dancing to this ratchet music. And I also joke that like I have this inner Jack Black energy. That's my coaching style, because I have a big gregarious personality. It doesn't mean I don't take life seriously. It doesn't mean I don't take my clients seriously and what goes on with them, but I do bring that big energy in, right? And I have at times in my life felt like I was too much because that's what people told me. Too much, too loud, too big, too talkative, too this, too that, to the other thing. And so it was only once I got diagnosed with ADHD and I've been past that diagnosis for 2.5 years that none of that matters anymore. Like the masks are off. I've said it other times in this podcast that, oh, my mask is off. But truly today, I can say to you, this is the most natural me I have ever been, but it has taken time. It is a process. Okay. But that is part of staying in the comfort zone. And I unmasking felt uncomfortable. I had a lot of fear. So this zone, the comfort zone, feels safe, but stagnant. You're not growing, but you're not failing. It's comfortable in a suffocating way, in a way that may be choking you out. Okay? That's the comfort zone. Fear zone. This is the one I was talking about at words are hard. This is the one I was talking about at the beginning, the fear zone. The one that a majority of my clients come to me in is this fear zone. And that's what I do is help get them out of this zone and walk them into the next two zones, which I will talk about shortly. Traits of the fear zone for late diagnosed ADHD women who own businesses: perfectionism paralysis. It has to be perfect or you can't launch your program. The comparison trap. Everyone else has it figured out except me, if you've ever had that thought. Comparison is literally the thief of joy. You want to feel like shit about your business as quickly as you possibly can. Go start looking at a bunch of people who do the same thing you do because you're going to be like, oh, their idea, this type. Blinders on. Literally one of the best things I've done for myself and that I have my clients do, especially when they're in growth mode, is put those blinders on because comparison will kill your creativity and you will be too busy looking around at everybody else and get trapped and sucked into that to really tune into your own intuition and brilliance and genius. The next thing you may experience in this fear zone is imposter syndrome on steroids. Like, I do not love the phrase imposter syndrome because I just think it's bullshit. I just think it's something that's out there in society that we've heard so much. It's like, oh, this must be why I feel this way. We can choose not to feel imposter syndrome. I believe that because even though there are times where that creeps in a little bit, I've learned to shut it off. So I know that it can be done. Is it harder for some than others? Yes. But if you take a look at imposter syndrome, it's really your brain lying to you. And when you do something like what I call proof of opposite, which is where you take a piece of paper and write down all of your major accomplishments, let's say for the last 10 years. And when your brain starts to kick into that mode saying, who am I to do this? And people are going to find out I'm a fraud or any of the other bullshit that your brain is making up, you pull that list out and read that list to give your brain the facts. What this does neurologically, and I'm not a doctor, but I do know about neuroplasticity being a real thing. When you keep creating a roadblock for a pattern of thought, that roadblock eventually is going to become more cemented in your brain. So the more times you feel like you have imposter syndrome and you read that list of things that you have done to date, and remember that you've literally survived 100% of your hardest days in life, that will turn the volume down on that imposter syndrome. And the less you use those words, I have imposter syndrome, saying something more like, I'm uncomfortable. This is making me uncomfortable. If you can swap to something like that and stop using those words will also come up a lot less, and so will the feelings. Another thing, analysis paralysis. researching forever, perfecting forever, and not implementing. Making excuses why now is not the right time. I've had clients who said, "Yes, I'm going to do this." And then starting in January, and I'll stop them and I'll be like, "Why January? Like, what's holding you up? Like, you have a sales page, you have this, you have that. Like, what's so special about January?" And they just kind of look at me like, I don't know. It's the way of, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it down the road, even though now would be a good time for them to execute. I will always ask that question, and not in a shaming way, but I will say, why is now not the right time? And usually it is because of zone two, fear. Next, self sabotaging right before breakthrough moments, right before you get to the other side of something that feels challenging. You may straight up sabotage where you're going because feeling good may not feel natural to you, especially if you're diagnosed later in life and you're earlier in on your diagnosis. Maybe you've known that self-sabotage for so long that that is normal to you, and it needs to be unlearned, and allowing yourself to have those breakthrough moments so that you see you not only can survive them, you can get to the other side and feel so fucking amazing, and that it is totally allowed, is what helps you stop self-sabotaging. You may be stuck in the what if I fail loop. What if I fail? What if I fail? And we're going to talk about ways to change the narrative on these things at the end of the episode, like I shared. Next, RSD, rejection sensitivity, keeps you from putting yourself out there, keeps you from doing something in a way that is not considered quote unquote perfect. ADHD shows up so differently in so many humans, and especially if somebody's been in the corporate world for a long time and they become a business owner, it's like you have to unlearn all of the things you did to survive in that 9 to 5 job and know that you get to do this differently and that you are not expected to be perfect. You might have had a job where you were expected to be perfect. You may have had family that expected you to be perfect. It can come from many different places. But oftentimes it's the fact that you are sensitive to rejection, and that will keep you from putting yourself out there. And lastly, playing with shit in your business that doesn't increase your revenue, that literally does not head you in the direction where you want to go in a way that is intentional. Here's a couple of examples of how fear shows up in your business. Number one, you've rewritten your sales page 47 times and still haven't launched your offer because you are convinced it is not good enough yet. Meanwhile, you're watching others with less experience, no sales page, and a fucking payment link launch and succeed. That is straight up fear. Next, number two example here. You want to raise your prices, but you're afraid your clients will leave or think you're greedy or any of those kind of judgments from other people, not yourself, from others. So you stay stuck undercharging and overworking, and then you will burn out. So guess what? You're going to make a lot less money when you when you hit burnout city, right? I want you to understand that I know I know a mentor, a business coach who her prices have increased and her clients have left and they've come back. And when they come back, they pay her new price point. Why? Because they want to work with her because they know she knows her shit. When you know your shit, your clients are okay with what you are doing, especially since we're in service-based businesses, right? Coaches, service providers, online of any kind. Our prices are going to increase as our expertise gets better, as our specialties get better, as we hone in on what we are the best at, right? So thinking that you have to stay undercharging and over delivering, that will take you to burnout really fucking fast. I've told my story many times, but in case you are new here and this is your first episode, I built 2 other six-figure businesses, not in the coaching arena. One was a real estate practice and the other was a fitness business. And those were both before I knew I had ADHD. Both of those got to be very successful, and I hit a wall where I burned out and burned them down and said, "I just can't fucking do this anymore." So when I started Carry Out Loud, when I started this business, it was also before I was diagnosed because I was diagnosed while running this business right here. And I realized I was heading for Burnout City again because I was working so hard and I was getting nowhere. And it was so fucking frustrating. And then once I had my ADHD diagnosis and I realized that simplification, straight up simplifying my business and creating my business around the way my brain works were the key to where I wanted to go. And I do not ever feel close to burnout anymore because I understand how to audit my big 3 currencies: time, energy, and money. I understand how to audit those and how to flow in a way that honors my brain, honors my energy, and honors my revenue goals, honors my desires, right? So, what does the fear zone feel like? Exhausting. You're aware you need to change, but your fear keeps you spinning in a loop. It just takes you in this loop over and over again. You take one step forward, then you feel like you're taking 3 steps back. You're stuck between the comfort of what you know, even though it's not where you want to be, and the fear of what could happen if you try something new. You're afraid that you could literally fall on your fucking face. Rejection sensitivity amplifies this fear because rejection for some feels like life threatening, not just uncomfortable. It creates feelings in your body. That's something that can happen. Perfectionism as a way to protect yourself. If it's perfect, you can't be criticized. But nothing is ever perfect. So it's more about putting off possible judgment or criticism. Executive dysfunction. This is something we deal with. Time blindness and executive dysfunction are the 2 main things that I know we deal with the most. Knowing what to do, but feeling unable to get yourself to do it, or not delegating to someone who can get that shit done for you in a short time frame because you're afraid to delegate because nobody can do it as well as you. Thing about delegation is you get to have a say over the final thing that goes out. You review things you delegate if that's what you want until you've built that trust with your VA or your online business manager or your operations person or anybody that you hire. Once you build that trust, you can let go of some of that tight grip, right? And past masking trauma. You've spent so long in your life hiding who you are that showing up genuinely. I like the word authentic is thrown around a lot, but it is subjective. But genuine means you're being genuinely yourself from the most genuine place. And that doesn't mean sharing your whole life on the interwebs. It means being the most genuine you in any way, shape, or form. I share this all the time. If you listen to this podcast, walk up to me on the street, come into my mastermind, do a one-on-one deep dive with me, etc., the same human being shows up every time. There is not a different person who shows up because I have taken those masks down and I am my most genuine expression of myself all day, every day. Because holding up a mask is one of the heaviest things you're going to carry around in your business, and that is exhausting. So, now that you know those first 2 things, we're going to talk about the parts that set you free. The next zone is the learning zone. How does this look for you as a late diagnosed or self identified woman with ADHD? experimenting with new strategies, making mistakes, and treating them as data, not personal failure, asking for help and investing in support. Look, I know that so many of us would rather get poked in the eye with a hot stick than ask for help, because being told what to do oftentimes makes our brain want to rebel. But what I know is that you don't want somebody to tell you what to do, but you want to know exactly what to do to fix your shit. And that's kind of the conundrum of our brains, right? So asking for that help and investing in support is part of that growth zone. Challenging old beliefs about what you're capable of. Your past does not dictate now and the future. It's in the rearview mirror, but you're still holding on to those pieces. And so in this zone, you get to challenge these old beliefs and really lean into what you're truly capable. This is also where you start to trust your ADHD brain and trust your own gut instincts instead of fighting them, instead of fighting against them. You take messy action instead of waiting for perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. It's not even, it's literally not a real thing. It's the best way to stop yourself is saying something has to be perfect. And building skills that feel uncomfortable but exciting, right? So, how would this show up in business? You launch an offer before it's perfect and learn from real client feedback what actually needs to change instead of guessing in a vacuum with no clients going through the process with you. Another example is hiring a coach who specializes in women with brains like yours and starting to build systems, or not even systems, putting together ways of functioning in your business, forward facing and behind the scenes, that work with your brain instead of trying to fucking contort yourself into these neurotypical strategies that never stick. You know, the $7 course graveyard in your email of neurotypical strategies where you start reading it or you start watching a course and your brain's like, nope, that doesn't fit, and shut down, right? So having learning, being coached, being mentored by somebody who has a brain like yours is a huge difference maker. And what is this zone, the learning zone? What does it feel like? It's uncomfortable, but it's energizing and exciting. You're nervous, but you're also curious. Are you making mistakes? Yep. And you're learning from them. They're data, that's information, and growth is happening. And that's the final zone, your growth zone. And how this shows up when you are in that growth zone, when you feel like you're growing, and this will cause your business to also grow, is living in alignment with your values, your core values, the things you believe to your bones, and in a way that's in alignment with your brain, how your brain processes, your unique wiring. Confidently charging what your expertise and years in business and transformation are valued at. Not your worth. I've said it before. I will say it again. Your worth is not tied to a dollar. It's not tied to a dollar bill. But the transformation or the guidance that you give, or the fact that you can get somebody from A to F shorter, that you can help them collapse time because of the things that you've gone through or the mistakes you've made that now become lessons that you can teach others so they don't necessarily have to make the same errors that you do. Showing up as your full unfiltered self, just letting that shit fly. Using your ADHD as your secret advantage, because it is. It is. Leading with your own unique perspective instead of hiding it? What are things that you should say or want to say that would ruffle other people's feathers, that would go against the grain in your industry, that other people are saying the opposite of, but you know for a fact that there are people who feel the same way as you do, and those are your people, by the way. We hear it a lot, unpopular opinion. Yeah. What's your unpopular opinion? Are you saying it? When you're in this zone, that shit just flies out without any problem. Making bold movement or moves in your business that feel scary, but also they feel right and good to you. Creating systems in your business that are repeatable, wash, rinse, repeat over and over again. Sales processes, onboarding, any of those kind of things. Because one of the things that can happen is you may be stopping sales because your processes behind the scenes aren't able to support taking on a new client and you have all of this stuff you're doing manually. So you're like, well, it's hard for you to sell because you don't feel like you have your shit together. And so you're just like, well, I'm just going to not then. When you have something that's repeatable, when you have something that's simple, when you have something that has automation involved, or you have somebody supporting you, that honors how your brain works. And I don't mean you need to go pay thousands of dollars a month to have a bunch of service providers. It can be as much as having somebody come in, look at your website, look at those processes, help you build them out one time, and you're done. And you didn't have to do it. It's going to make you thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars when you have those things in place, straight up, straight up. And then last but not least, building a business that supports your life and your joy, not a business that is all consuming. There's a huge difference. You're not new anymore. You're not new. Getting time back, now it's time to start doing that. And by having things that are repeatable, that are simple, that are straightforward over and over again in your business, even if that feels boring to you, let me tell you, it makes your business run better, more smoothly. It gives your clients red carpet service. They know that you follow through and take good care of them. And that's how you grow. And then you have different things you do for funsies, different offers, different things like that. And if you're a service provider, you're working with all different kinds of people. So that keeps it fun, that keeps it novel. So having certain things that are just wash, rinse, repeat will help you be able to do the things you love more, the things that stimulate your brain, because we like novelty and shiny object syndrome shiny objects get to be the new client with a different kind of business or a different kind of person or a different kind of conundrum or problem that you get to help them resolve or solve or create. That's what keeps it new, especially since we have interest-based brains. It keeps it interesting. So how does the growth zone show up in your business? One, you position yourself as the expert for a very specific thing. I fucking hate the word niche, so I call it anti-niche, right? But for a certain demographic of humans, personality of humans, type of business type, marrying your unique skill set to create something that makes you like not just one of one, but truly something nobody can repeat or copy, even if they try, because you have knowledge in there that you're able to grab on the fly. That if someone can copy your branding, your marketing, all that stuff, but they cannot copy your wisdom and the way that your unique skill sets are married together, period. This also leads to you raising your prices significantly, attracting the type of clients who are excited to pay you because they finally found somebody who gets them and who can truly help them with what they need the most help with, that you are uniquely qualified for. And that helps you truly stand out in that sea of sameness. Whereas when you're in that comfort zone, you're trying to blend in. That's the best way to not be visible. That's literally the best way to not be seen. And in that comfort zone, you may be in a place where you don't want to be seen. That could be part of it, by the way. It's that hiding, right? Being visible means possible judgment. Being visible means you may need to grow a thicker skin. So keep that in mind. Example 2. You launch a thought leadership brand built around your perspective. And that attracts a cult following of people who've been waiting, fucking waiting, craving for someone like you to show them a different way, to build a mission. When I say thought leadership, it's not looking around at everybody else, but your own thoughts that are unique or different from other people and putting them out there like the fucking antidote is in it. Because for the people that you are here to work with and help the most, it will feel like the most cold, delicious glass of water they've ever had after crawling through a fucking desert. Not to sound overly dramatic, but it's true. When my clients finally find me and see that it gets to be different, it changes the trajectory of their businesses. If you don't believe me, listen to 2 episodes ago, 168. I did an interview with one of my current clients, and she talked about the 90-minute slingshot one-on-one deep dive that we did and what that did for her. Basically, she had been waiting for someone to show up, to show her a different way. And that person, lucky me, was fucking me because I stopped hiding and stopped trying not to be misperceived or judged or whatever. Now, look, we're human. Of course, from time to time, those feelings are going to creep up, but it should be like 5% of the time. If it's 95% of the time, that's where the issue is. That's where your issue is, period, straight up. What does this zone feel like? Alive, joyful, genuine. You're still challenged, but it is a kind of challenge that you love. It is good. And you are becoming who you've always seen in your mind that you knew you were meant to become, whether that is a leader, whether that is a change maker, whether that is a rule wrecker in your industry, the thing you see in your mind that you haven't let yourself dream could be for you happens, starts happening straight up. I promised you towards the end that I am going to help you get out of the fear zone where most of the entrepreneurs I work with, the women in business that I work with, where most of them are stuck when they come to me. The fear zone is a loop. And you get stuck here because fear triggers the rejection sensitivity, the perfectionism, that triggers the analysis paralysis, which triggers more fear. And it's just this fucking cycle that feeds itself over and over again. Breaking out requires a pattern interruption. You have to interrupt that pattern because you know it's happening, right? It's like in the moment, you do know it's happening, but are you doing something to break the pattern? Or are you just letting that loop go over and over again? Are you finding a way to interrupt and redirect? So here's how you interrupt and fucking redirect to get out of fear and into learning and growth. Number 1, reframe anything that feels or you perceive as failure as data collection. You're collecting data. The shift is stop seeing mistakes as proof of you're not good enough and start seeing them as information. So before you launch anything, write down 3 things you want to learn from your experience. Not just, I want it to be perfect, because that's not going to happen. It's impossible. So write those 3 things down. And then after the launch, review what you learned with no judgment. No judgment. You've been judged a lot in your life, and the most harsh critic is you. Do something different. That's how you break and interrupt patterns. Now, ADHD friendly tip, your brain is wired for novelty and pattern recognition. Use it. Each failure is just a new data point that helps you see the patterns that maybe other people miss. And this is one of your most powerful traits. Use it to your advantage. The mantra here, or the thing you can say here, or the thing you can put on a sticky note in front of your face, or put it on your fucking forehead, facing into your eyeballs so you can see it day in and day out, is I'm not failing. I'm collecting data. Okay. Next, take messy action in 10-minute sprints. There's a little bit of gamification here and a little bit of urgency. We like that. Our brains like that. The shift here is perfectionism keeps you stuck researching forever. Messy action gets you unstuck. If you're ready to unfuck yourself, this is the way. Set a timer for 10 minutes and do one imperfect thing that scares you. The bear is coming to get you. The tiger's around the corner and is gonna eat you, right? No, it's not. That's the feeling. That's the feeling inside, the heartbeat, the sweaty palms, oh, can I do this? You can do that for 10 minutes. Post the caption you've been afraid to. Post that reel that's been sitting in your drafts forever that you want to post. Send the fucking email. Raise the price point on that offer. Don't think, just move. Because you and I both know you jumped out of the build a business airplane and we're building the parachute on the way down, right? That is not think, just move. So you've done that. It's not like you can't, you have. Do that here in a 10-minute sprint. ADHD tip here is our brains hate long, nebulous tasks. They hate that shit. But we love short sprints with clear endpoints. We know we have a place that we're going. Use this. 10 minutes is short enough that you can't spiral into perfection. You have to act and literally use a physical timer. There are time cubes. If you're watching this on YouTube, I have this time cube here that's like digital. It has different time frames on it. You can also get those kitchen timers that show, like say it's in red and you set it for 10 minutes. And the red part of it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So you literally physically, visually see time counting down. That can be fun too. Those are available on Amazon. If you need a rec, let me know. I can show you which one. Your mantra for this is done is better than perfect, and 10 minutes of messy action beats 10 weeks of fucking perfect planning. Because 10 weeks of perfect planning gets you nowhere. Really, really, really nowhere. That's 2.5 months of time. Don't let that amount of time go by keeping you stuck. The next thing is find your fuck yes crew. Because isolation amplifies your fear. Being in community with humans like you normalizes growth, normalizes messy action, normalizes taking leaps of faith. Something you could do here is join a mastermind, hire a coach like me who specializes in ADHD, or find 2 or 3 other women in business who have ADHD that you can message or talk to when that fear spiral hits. The people who will say, not family, not your normal in real life friends, the ones who will say to you, do the scary thing. I believe in you. You got this. Not the ones who are going to be like, are you sure that's a good idea? That's not how we're made. We're risk takers. Most people aren't. They're fine being back in the comfy zone, right? Find the people who fucking get it. Even though rejection may feel unbearable, this is why you need to celebrate your fucking feral nature with people like you instead of trying to tame it. The ones who get you want to see that grow out in the world. They don't want to try to quash it. The mantra you could use is, I don't have to do this alone. Isolation is not protection. It's the best way to be lonely in your fucking business. I tell you that straight from my big fat marshmallow heart. Isolation ain't it, because that's what keeps you in the loop. And last, my favorite, use your ADHD as your advantage, not your excuse. Stop saying, I can't do this because of my ADHD, and start asking, how can I do this in a way that works for my brain, that works for my special brand of 12 herbs and spices? Because with ADHD, neurodivergence in general, some symptoms are higher in others than they are with me, and vice versa. But there are just these underlying hums that where we get each other, right? So, how can you do this in a way that does work for you? There are so many solutions, and straight up, you one of our best traits is where other people see walls, we see 5 ways to solve a problem. Tap into that for yourself. And if you can't tap into that for yourself, talk to friends who do business and have ADHD and see what they do. Because one suggestion may lead to an idea in your own mind of a version of what they said that you're like, oh my gosh, that would totally work for me. One of the things I say to my people often is, don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you can do, and we'll start there, right? And for your action step here, pick one thing you're avoiding because you feel like ADHD makes it hard, and redesign it for your brain. Here's an example. I was just talking. So in the Neurospicy Sisterhood, we have a group Telegram chat. My clients have access to me Monday through Friday in between calls, and they have access to each other, right? And so one of the things we were talking about was time blocking and doing time audits, because time blindness is real. You and I both know that there are times where we will be doing something and 2 hours goes by and we're like, what the fuck just happened? Where'd that time go? It is part of ADHD. We have, like, time is not linear for us, right? It just it'll go. So if you hate time blocking, one of the things I suggested, which works so well, is instead of blocking time hour by hour or minute by minute for an exact task, to block time for specific types of tasks, right? So one client's like, on Mondays, she knows she's going to do content and other creative things. On Tuesdays, she knows she's going to record podcast episodes and edit them, or get them ready, edit one that she's already recorded. Choosing Wednesdays, she wants to do networking in her community, not just in the online arena, right? You see what I'm saying? So instead of trying to shift context, because that's another thing we have trouble with, is, okay, I'm going to answer this email, then I'm going to record this podcast. Now I'm going to go make content. Now I'm going to go read this copy. Our brains are like, fuck off. But when you group those things together and have days where okay, these are the things I'm doing on this day, these are the types of things I'm doing on this day, that kind of blocking honors your energy. And it honors the way your brain works. So thinking of the different task buckets and doing those on specific days. Say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I know these are the things I do on those days, and give yourself other days where it's just kind of like free balling, right? Do you hate creating content every day? Batch it weekly. Doesn't mean you need to schedule it. You can just save it in your drafts. Save it into edits. Put it together in Canva so you can just go in and grab it. It's ready, it's done. Do you hate long client calls? Offer Voxer, pocket coaching instead, with maybe one call in the beginning and a call every quarter to see each other face to face. I will tell you, for my clients, one of the biggest changes that I made is that I no longer am a slave to my desk and tons of Zoom calls anymore, because my clients get one-on-one time with me for the first 30 days inside of Voxer and in their 90-minute deep dive. And they're also in the mastermind with other women with brains like theirs. Guess who thought that up? Me, because it works for my brain. Having 12 calls a week wasn't it. It was hard for me to change between contexts with every single client. That was challenging. So I found another way. I don't care what you are seeing all around you in your business and how people are doing things, and this is their business model and this is their business model. It gets to be whatever the fuck you want it to be. I had one client who wanted to educate, and I'm like, well, what if we put all this kind of in a hub? Because the thought of having weekly calls or not having information accessible to the people she wants to help felt weird. And I'm like, well, what if we just kind of had this hub where you could educate and also have that community aspect, and maybe a call once a week? And she was like, oh my God, right? But we came up with that together. It gets to look how you need it to look. If you build your business around your brain, instead of trying to shove your brain and contort it into the way you think you're supposed to do business, it will change your fucking life. It will change your business. It will increase your revenue. It will give you energy back and time back. It gets to be different. Late diagnosed ADHD women like us spend years masking and trying to force ourselves into boxes that do not fit. Stop that shit. It ends now. It ends today. Your ADHD brain is brilliant, and it's chaotic, and it's inventive, and it recognizes patterns. And you want to build a business that leverages all of those things instead of fighting it. Saying things like, my ADHD isn't what's holding me back. Trying to do shit like a neurotypical person is. It's the difference between having an Apple and having a Samsung. They have two totally different operating systems, right? But they both make calls, they both download apps. It's just a different avenue to get there. One is not better than the other. They're simply different. You're the Apple, baby. You have an iOS system. Everybody else has Android. Think of it that way, and it will just give you a different perspective on not feeling like a fucking weirdo for having to do things just a little bit differently than other people. So here are the things I want you to take away from this episode today. Your comfort zone feels safe, even though it feels yucky. And if you're trying to stay safe, you're not going to grow. And I'm going to use this thing that I hear all the time in my own brain. What's the definition of insanity? If you think right now that doing the same thing over and over and over again is going to get you something different, you're going to stay stuck. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and thinking something else is going to happen. It's not. You have to be willing to make the change. The fear zone is where most women with ADHD get stuck in loops because of perfectionism, time blindness, executive dysfunction, and rejection sensitivity. It just creates this cycle that feeds itself. You have to have a way to cut it off. And that can be with just having other human beings you can talk to when you're in those moments that get it. They get business and they get the way your brain works. The learning zone is where growth starts to happen. Messy action, doing experiments, taking quote unquote mistakes as data. This is where you want to spend most of your time. The growth zone is where you become the fucking force of nature you are meant to be. Leveraging your ADHD to your business's advantage, to your advantage. You don't get out of fear by eliminating it. You get out by taking action despite it. Fear doesn't go away. You just get better at moving through it. And any entrepreneur who's been in the game for long enough will tell you, no, it's not that I don't feel fear. It's just that I know how to navigate it better. It's just that I don't feel it quite as long. It's just that I walk through it with more ease now. It's that I acknowledge that it's there and keep going anyway. That's the difference. They don't allow themselves to get stuck in that perpetual loop. And last but not least here, your ADHD is never the problem. Paying attention to business strategy that is for neurotypical brains that doesn't work for you, that's the problem. Build differently because you can. There are literally no rules. You can, I don't care what industry standards are. I don't care what someone tells you you should be doing or you supposed to be doing. Even if I'm your coach, don't just blindly follow everything. I don't want you to. You have critical thinking. You have autonomy. I'm going to give you the best advice that I can give you. But also, you know what's best for you as well. Take the experience and put it to work for you. If you're stuck in the fear zone right now, I want to talk to you. Every single successful human in business has been where you are. The difference is they don't wait until the fear is gone. They don't wait until they feel ready. They took the messy action anyway. Your fear isn't evidence that you're not ready. Your fear is evidence that you're about to fucking level up. I swear to you, if I could tell you how many times I've had these weird out of nowhere breakdown moments where like I will get super emotional or super frustrated or cry even. And then it gets out of me and all of a sudden poof, I have a breakthrough and I shoot forward. I've done it's happened enough times for me to know that these fears and feelings are evidence of you are about to go to the next phase. So I would love for you to pick one of these 4 strategies that I gave you at the end here and do one today, not tomorrow, not when you feel more confident, not when you think, okay, it's perfect and okay, I have all my shit together today. Do you have a program that you haven't launched yet, but you have a fucking, you know exactly what's included in the program and you have a payment link? Share it in your stories, put it in a piece of content, talk about it. Stop putting it off. You're ready now. Because you can do whatever the fuck you put your mind to. And that includes getting out of fear and into growth. And with that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you would like to get into my ecosystem and keep up with the latest and greatest, hop on my newsletter specifically for late diagnosed women entrepreneurs. The link is in the show notes. It's called The Frequency. I love it. I spelled it FREAKQUENCY. It was called the Love Note, and it was time for a makeover, for a facelift. So it's there in the show notes. Or if you are ready to talk about your own business growth or you're stuck in that fear zone and you want to see what it looks like to work together, book the free clarity call with me. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at Carry Out Loud, or book it through the link in my show notes. It's 30 minutes. It's not a coaching call. I ask questions, see where you're at. It's fact finding. I get to know you and your business and your goals and your desires, and we see if we're a match to work together. It's that basic. I'd love to hear from you. Until next week, I see you. I love you. I am fucking rooting for you always. Stay feral. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.